Hi, my name's Bailey. I have obsessive compulsive disorder and this is my story. I've always wanted to make one of these videos. I was in a state of misery, pure, complete, full body, full encompassing 24/7, every cell in my body misery, agonizing misery. That I believe that out of everyone who was in a situation similar to me, with friends and family and good financial state, that I was the most miserable. My agony reached a point where the only thing that could soothe me was picturing my own suicide. I would literally calm myself down from panic attacks by imagining pulling the trigger, kicking the chair, and now I'm doing pretty damn good. If I was able to come out of that, anyone can. I'm telling you, if I could do it, anyone could. So here's my story. I was first diagnosed with OCD when I was 10 years old. The diagnosis was never something I took that seriously because I was like, oh, if I do have it, it doesn't really affect me that much. The instances of OCD behaviors that I displayed as a child from age 10 till 19 were small. You know, I wanted to sleep on my left side because I thought I'd throw up if I slept on my right side. There was a phrase I was repeating over and over in my head for a couple months when I was in middle school. Yeah, my OCD, it never really took over my life. I was dealing with anxiety and depression and self-harm habits, eating disorder behaviors. You know, I always took heartbreaks way too hard, and I struggled with some drug misuse and abuse for a little while. But my mental health was always pretty manageable, at least relative to my situation that began at age 19. When I was around 19 and a half years old, I had a panic attack. I was working a lot, I was starting to get burnt out, and then one night my boss made me close alone. I was working at a cafe. I never closed alone before. No one had, like, at that cafe. That wasn't really a thing the boss would make us do. I think to this day it's the worst one I've ever had. I've had some horrible panic attacks, but I lost vision in my left eye. It sent me straight into derealization. Like, I remember describing it to my boyfriend in the moment because as soon as, like, I lost half my vision, I was like, pull up right now, I'm freaking the fuck out at the cafe, please come help me. I kept saying to him, I feel like I'm on drugs. I feel like someone drugged me. I think someone might have slipped something into my water. I feel like I just ate a 500 milligram edible. And that feeling wouldn't go away. I stopped panicking in that feeling state. And now I know that that was derealization. And I didn't leave that state of derealization until rather recently. We'll get there. But after that day, like I said, I was stuck in that state of feeling intoxicated and off and wrong and not like myself. And it was winter, it was January. So how my OCD first started to really kick me in the ass was through health OCD. I started to really panic about the idea of catching COVID norovirus. That was a big one for me because I have a lot of gastrointestinal issues, which just comes with being a Jew with an anxiety disorder. So I was so worried about getting sick, and I thought, oh, this is just health anxiety. You know, I've dealt with anxiety on and off my whole life. I've had quite a few panic attacks. Like, this is health anxiety. But what I didn't realize was that I was becoming obsessive, like completely obsessive. And I'm still in the state of derealization. I never feel like myself. I have horrible brain fog. I'm spending 6 hours a day researching. I'm like, how contagious is this? What are the symptoms? What are the rarer symptoms? Non-stop, everything about health. It's always on my mind. Even those moments where I'm not doing the compulsions of actually researching and getting reassurance, going to the doctor, I'm thinking about my health. And I also developed somatic OCD. If you don't know what that is, that's when you become hyper fixated on a certain feeling in your body. The most common one is breathing. I've had quite a few cases of somatic OCD. Once for a whole day I thought about my jaw the entire time, and I couldn't figure out how to just involuntarily rest my jaw, so it was either too tight or too loose. When my somatic OCD was focused on my breathing, it kind of paired up with my health OCD. Before I realized that the issue at hand was that I was focusing so much on my breathing, I thought the real issue was that my breathing was wrong, that something was not right about my breathing. So I was doing so much research, and I learned words like dyspnea and pulmonary edema, just a bunch of bullshit. And at the same time as all this, I developed chronic migraines. I started having silent migraines in like February, and God, I had no idea that's what I was experiencing. So imagine my surprise when I wake up every day a little bit nauseous, a little bit dizzy, completely in a state of derealization, and all I want to do is get on WebMD. So then I started to get regular migraines that include lots of pain. In July, again, I'm still having horrible OCD. I can't stop thinking about my breathing. I'm doing so much research on lung conditions and heart conditions and popcorn lung and all this bullshit, and I'm having horrible migraines, and now all of a sudden I'm sure I have a brain tumor, because there's no way someone can have this many migraines without a brain tumor. And I'm having all these panic attacks. I'm crawling into my parents' bed at 2 in the morning, and then after so many doctor's appointments and all this horrible shit, I'm miserable. I'm so miserable. I'm completely detached from reality. I'm isolating. I can't even leave the house. I decide to Google something a little different. I'm about to search, why does my breathing feel like this, or something like that, and I decide to type in, why do I keep thinking about my breathing? And thank God, somatic OCD popped up, and I immediately realized, like, oh my God, it's not because there's beta blockers in my magnesium, it's not popcorn lung, I don't have a brain tumor, I'm just crazy. Now, in July of 2024, I realized that I have OCD. So I start dialing the fuck in. I bought this book, which is actually amazing. I was gonna grab it for you. I thought it was on this table, but it's not. Went to nocd.com, not sponsored. I actually hated my NoCD therapist, but I don't know. I was doing ERP, I'm reading this book, I'm learning more and more about OCD, but still, it's not getting better. I realized that I need to start medication. In August, I was like, I gotta take medication. I'm miserable. I'm spending every second thinking about my obsessions. The ERP is barely helping. It's getting my mind off one theme while my OCD jumps to another theme. I need to start medication. But I had a really strong phobia of medication, which I didn't have before. It just developed the second I actually needed medication. And so every single day I'm holding this Lexapro in my hand and I'm begging myself to take it, and I couldn't bring myself to take it. And the months are going by, and we're in October, and I think things are getting a little bit better, and I'm starting to do some agoraphobia exposures, and now all of a sudden it's slightly easier to leave the house. I can get within a 10-mile radius, and I don't even think that much, like a 5-mile radius, and I'm okay. And then I realize, like, I have PMDD too. I start getting so much more anxious before my menstrual cycles, before my menstruation, and nausea. On top of the chronic migraines, I have chronic nausea. For 2 weeks a month, my entire luteal phase, I'm nauseous all the time. It gets so bad, and I'm trying to figure out how much of this nausea is like gastrointestinal issues, how much of it is PMDD, and how much of it is just anxiety. And I'm trying to get a grip. I'm like having so many physical issues because, you know, anxiety puts so much stress on your body. So I'm having the migraines and I'm having the nausea and I have fatigue and malaise and I feel like complete fucking garbage all the time. And because of the anxiety, it was really hard for me to eat. So I'm like 10 pounds underweight, and I'm like, maybe I'm just nauseous because my stomach's empty and I can't digest food, and I'm constipated, and I'm just, ugh. And I keep asking myself the question, I'm like, am I anxious because of my health issues? Do I have health issues because I'm anxious? I'm getting blood work to find out if I have hypothyroidism. I'm getting an MRI to check for a brain tumor. And I go back to not being able to leave the house at all, and I can't get past that 5-mile radius. You know, I'm going back and forth between can't leave my house, can't leave my town, just can't leave my house, can't leave the town. And I have these days, like 3 or 4 days where the derealization kind of goes away and it's more like just a little bit of brain fog. And I also forgot to mention I developed visual snow syndrome. So it's really hard to fight the derealization when I constantly have static over my vision. That hasn't gotten any better. I still have that, but anyways, November of 2024, I got to this point where the only thing that would calm me down and center me and ground me was picturing my suicide. I would sit there and envision myself killing myself, and it was the only thing that could, like, slow my breathing a little bit and just get me to. It was my motivator. I used to scream and cry and beg God to give me the strength to take my own life, because I believed that was the only way I'd find peace. And I was still waking up and holding the Lexapro and begging myself to take it and going, oh, what if it makes me nauseous? What if it makes me worse? What if it doesn't help? What if I get serotonin syndrome? What if this? What if that? What if this? What if I'm allergic to it? This and that and this and everything. Every possibility you could fucking imagine. April 2025 comes around. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. I do really well in the spring, you know. It's like, starting fresh, cleaning, rebirth, all that jazz. And I'm like, maybe I don't need it. Maybe I don't need the antidepressant. Maybe I'm gonna be all okay. But it didn't stop. I had some good days. I had some days where the derealization took a little bit of a break, and then it comes back, and the panic attacks, and the nausea, and the migraines, and just miserable, brutal. I'm trying everything. I'm trying ashwagandha, and I'm trying St. John's wort, whatever the fuck it's called. And one day, I was like, today's the day I'm taking the fucking Lexapro. This was like a week after I started meeting with a new therapist who I still see to this day. And then I realized at like noon, I was like, I can't take the Lexapro. I can't fucking do it. It's another day I'm putting it back in the bottle. And my mom said to me, yeah, of course, you don't even want to get better. And that one sentence was like, I don't want to get better, and I took it. Immediately started freaking the fuck out, of course, but I took it and I was fine. Had some stomach cramps. I was okay. My body reacted pretty well to it. And I kept taking it. And I kept seeing my therapist. And my brain started to get a little better. Started to have less intrusive thoughts. Started to be able to brush off the intrusive thoughts a little more. Started to be able to leave the house a little bit more. 5-mile radius for a couple weeks. 10-mile radius for a couple weeks. Let's go somewhere 12 miles away. Oh, scary. A little anxious. My therapist gave me some amazing advice of quite a few things. Something was like, before you do something that's scary, you can't say to yourself, it's gonna be okay, I'm gonna be fine. You have to say to yourself, it's okay if things aren't okay. It's okay if I'm not fine. And that mindset, that one little thing really changed things for me. I continued to do some ERP, focusing mostly on CBT with my therapist. I kept taking the Lexapro. And now, no more derealization. Oh, thank God for that. That shit's gone. Oh, it's the worst fucking part. Feeling like you're in a fucking video game your entire life. Haven't had a panic attack. I can completely brush off almost all my intrusive thoughts. They come less. I went to the beach on last Sunday. The beach! Took an hour to get there. Went apple picking. 40 minutes. I went to this oddity expo. 40 minutes. Surrounded by people. You know what I said to myself? I might get sick. There's a lot of people here. I wanted to die so fucking bad. I was terrified of medication. Terrified of getting sick. So sure I had cancer and diseases. I was completely isolated. I never left my house. I was so fucking miserable. And I thought that my only chance at peace was to kill myself. I was trying everything. I went to fucking church. I was so ready to give up. Now, I've got a job lined up. I don't have it yet. Still unemployed. Oopsies. Going to school. I'm spending time with friends. Doing shit. I'm doing things I never thought I'd do again. I fully believed I'd never see the beach again. I'm appreciating the beauty in everything. I'm making goals for myself. Finding things I'm passionate about. Getting really into my art. and photography. I've been creating so much and consuming less. I don't even think about my visual snow syndrome. I don't think about my migraines. I don't think about any of it. I just focus on what's in front of me. I never thought I'd get back to this point. I'm telling you, if I was able to dig myself out of the basement of rock bottom, stop spending 20 minutes a day asking ChatGPT to reassure the fact that I don't have Crohn's disease. What was I saying? Remission is possible with OCD. Not a lot of people know that. I bet even less people know that 60% of people who receive treatment for their OCD go into remission. Reach a point in their life where they no longer fit the criteria to have the diagnosis. I'm not exactly at that point yet. Now that the weather's getting colder, you know, I had a little flare-up of health OCD. I have some days where I'm really depressed. But, God, life is just so much fucking easier. And you can get there too.